Hello. Normally I'd start this with a joke about the game week, a witticism, or a pun. But today it's a bit different. It's a day when we're reminded that FPL is indeed just a game. We saw a bit of upsetting news earlier on that Joe from Fantasy Football Scout has been taken on well. Um, Joe has been an amazing source of support for us and such a kind, generous guy of his time and advice. Since we got going at the start of last season, he was actually going to come on the pod next week as well. And the news, frankly, hit me for six when I saw what had happened and heard what had happened a little bit from Dave over at Fantasy Football Scout. I can't imagine the FPL community without Joe being a part of it. I've been watching him on the Scoutcast since I got into fantasy football, and FS, and his insight, tireless work, and humour have been a cornerstone of my FPL experience. And I think at the start of this pod, this YouTube, I just want to take a moment to extend mine and Nick's very, very best wishes to Joe and his family. And we hope that he just makes a speedy recovery and gets back to flaunting goals imminent tables as soon as he possibly can. As you can see, I'm not joined by Nick tonight due to work commitments, but I will once again from Fantasy Football Hub, who has saved you all from a tomologue by kindly stepping in to join me. I'm very happy very happy to have you on again. Will, how are you doing? And just introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to be on firstly, but I thought just echo your words on Joe. Really, there's a top guy that I've sort of known it intermittently through the fantasy football community, and he's always been super helpful to me in terms, setting up Fantasy Football Hub, and just an all-round great guy, and wish him a speedy recovery as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Will can be found is it at FF Hub on Twitter?
F Football Hub at F Football Hub is our main account. Yeah.
Cool. One of those kind of portmanteaus because everyone's taken all the fantasy football handles. Yeah. Cheers, dude. Great to have you on. And just say quickly, of course, we are Who Got This Is. You can find us on Twitter at WGTA_FPL and use Spotify or SoundCloud, whatever you'd like to listen and subscribe. This will be on YouTube, but I will put this in as a mini pod. So those who are listening, welcome as well. This is the WGTQ+A, no proper podcast this week, again, due to the quick turnaround. But instead, Will and I will be giving our thoughts on a few burning questions we've been asked in the aftermath of the end of double game week just gone. Let's quickly get the game reviews out of the way before moving on to our questions this week. Go on then, Will. How have you done? And what's happened with this last big double game week in the FPL season?
Yeah, well, I play like many. I played my bench boost, and it went pretty well actually. I got 25 points on the bench, so can't really complain too much about that. Ryan and Duffy coming out of the blue, and repaying a little bit of the pain that was last week. Overall, 120 points, -4, so 116. Jumped into top 1,000 for the first time, so I can't complain. To be honest, it was pretty much all from my defense. Lloris, Ryan, Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Laporte, Doherty, and Duffy in the back line. So minimum of 6 points from Robertson and Lloris. The rest all over 6 with 4 of those into double digits. So they were sort of the bulk of my points, really. Ericsson also coming in with a 9 point and Aguero captain. And the rest, trickling in. Sterling with the 8 points there as well. So, can't really complain. I guess the slightly painful bit was that I was on the verge of bringing Gray and Deulofeu in. But because I wasn't certain on Deulofeu's fitness, I went for Redmond and Wilson instead, and it didn't
sliding doors.
Yeah, it was a bit painful, but to be honest, I can't complain with 116 points.
No, so, absolutely not. So
how did yours go?
Bloody good score that. Just about. I was saying before we came on stream that I was waiting until the very end of the end of the game to check. I got 102, so I did break the century. It's not a net 100 though; it's a gross 100. So it's a 98 in reality.
Take it.
I'm gonna take it. Will I'm gonna definitely take it. And so I brought in Gray and Laporte for Chilwell and Rondon, which did work out. Gray at the very, very end last night. I was out with Karam from the FPL community and Aaron Boyle as well, watching that in the pub in Farringdon. And yeah, it was all game. We were just like, oh, nothing's happening. And Ericsson scored. I mean, I did lose the Brighton double clean sheet, but I got very lucky with the Wolves one, to be honest. So I didn't really care too much about that. And then Gray scoring at the end was just brilliant. A really nice moment for me.
In the last few minutes for you.
yeah, it's far too seldom that happening this year in FPL for me. But yeah, it's taking me over the 100, and Laporte, obviously, double game week hero. That's the first kind of Laporte haul I've received, which has been quite good. I'm going to hopefully beat last year's score, which was rubbish. But hopefully next year I'll be able to disentangle the content creation from my management. I think that there seems to be a devil's gambit going on, that the podcast does okay, the Twitter account does okay, but you can't do okay at FPL, Tom. I don't know what it is.
It's a good thing about FPL. There's always next season.
Yeah, exactly. There's always next season. There's always next game week. It's just when you get towards now, you're just kind of like, that's it now. But yeah, no, I can't be too displeased at that. And worth mentioning as well, Nick got 91. I think. I don't know if I think Laporte's going to get a little bit more bonus actually. So I think he just missed out on the 100 this week. He took a -4, and he brought in Firmino and Hudson-Odoi and removed Deeney and Siggy. Hudson, Firmino in. I can see it long term there, but removing Siggy, he was not happy the other day. He really was not. Lots of joy emojis and lots of anger, I'm sure, coming out of him. But yeah, he did all right, but not the best. But either way, I think he's now kind of just inside the top 100k. I think should be able to close out an okay season. But it's not been great for both of us. Maybe my poor my Devil's Gambit is affecting both of us. Who knows? All right. Before we take some questions, we'll move, just talk about a couple of things. The first, market forces at the moment. See a few bits and pieces. So Pogba's been sold by 50,000 people. Hazard's been sold by 25,000, and Rash has been sold by 25. Deulofeu, after a very, very good double game week, has come in for 40,000 people so far, and Son has been brought in by 35,000. I'm surprised, and I'm sure that this will change going forward. We're literally recording this just as the Man United game, Manchester derby is finished. I am surprised that Liverpool hasn't been picked up by more, but I'm guessing that will absolutely take off after a while. Sadio Mane at the moment has been brought in by 32,000 people, and he dropped as well before double game week kicked off, which I thought was quite strange. I don't know how that happened, but there you go. But I suspect there's going to be a movement towards Liverpool as we get closer to the Friday deadline, with TAA, I think, as well being brought in. And also just to mention quickly that Nick has telephoned in a Nick pick, who is Siggy. He's away at Palace, but has first in goals this season. He's now being played in his favourite role at Everton and has a set piece monopoly as well.
Yeah, he's a good pick, Sigurdsson. I'm looking at him for my Sky team. He's done a Nick pick for someone he's just taken out, though. Is that allowed?
I think he's just covering his own backside there. But yeah, I think Sigurdsson's one of those, isn't he? The next year is going to be really, really interesting. Like him and Milojevic, whatever you want to call them. They're both penciled into my game week 1 team because of set piece monopoly for both of them, especially with VAR coming in. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Siggy, royalty in FPL terms. Remember, he was at Swansea, nigh on the central for everybody, and now appears to have been given that number 10 role. Remember, he was signed for Everton. Like Ronald Koeman was playing him on the wing for some reason. A guy with absolutely no pace. What are you doing, Ronnie? There we go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see with VAR actually whether FPL Tower sort of take that into consideration, that penalty takers are likely to get more penalties, and therefore they should have a bit of a price hike. My hunch is they probably won't. They usually just do it on last season's points scored, don't they, and sort of figure out the prices that way. But if they don't, then there's certainly going to be hopefully some value in the likes of Sigurdsson and Milojevic.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if Millie is given anything below an 8, then surely he might be in a lot of teams. So that's my question. That's my thinking. Like, a lot of the time they do build it towards basically build against people being able to auto include players. Like we saw with Salah this year get up to 13.0, so it became a choice. And the worry would be that if Millie, who's done very well this season as well, by the way, got below maybe 7.58, you'd be kind of thinking, right, Is that a bit of an auto include? Like if you get 7, I think there's going to be many game week 1 squads, and maybe there's a good case for just leaving him in there for the rest of the season. But yeah, we'll see. There may be a massive impact. We were talking about that in the hub group today in terms of VAR, weren't we? And I think there will be a big impact, and I think the set piece takers, penalty takers, and maybe even centre backs as well at corners may be very, very important. You imagine your Duffy type either assisting penalties because he hands all over him, VAR, he's been mauled down like Mo Salah by Sean Morrison, or he's just let free to leap like a salmon at the ball. All right, let's move on to the questions then, Will. The first one this week is about Liverpool. Liverpool hit. So Barry Kermit, and I just mentioned earlier on that Liverpool are going to be very, very popular, asks, is it worth taking a hit for Liverpool players this week ahead of the 36th game against Huddersfield? That is very, very juicy. And FPL Moose asks if Salah in NYC is a problem for those considering him.
Yeah, I never really know how to answer these, questions about hits, because it depends on so many factors that are sort of related to your own personal team. But having said that, if you're going to ever take a hit, then Liverpool at home to Huddersfield, you can't really ask for a better fixture. So if you're taking out, I don't know, the likes of Pogba for Mane, I think that is probably worth a hit, or Pogba to Salah, or I wouldn't go ditching the City guys though, but I think that there are moves there which are definitely tempting, and I'd probably take for a hit personally. Salah been in New York, I can't imagine he's been allowed to go. If it's such a crucial time for Liverpool that he's got to be back and fit and starting for that Huddersfield match. I'll be shocked if he isn't. I know that they play Champions League against Barcelona midweek, but they're going to be going all out for the Premier League. I know it's Huddersfield, but you'd expect them to try and get two goals up and then rest the likes of Salah, for the Barcelona match. But that's kind of my thoughts. I don't know, what are you thinking along similar lines?
Yeah, I mean, it's always it depends, isn't it? But I mean, Steve Winyar's just asked us in chat, for example, whether it's worth removing Kevin De Bruyne for a player like that, with Sterling or Mane being his question. And yeah, I think going with Liverpool is probably going to be where you'd be looking. I mean, obviously, we may end up eventually being like, oh, well, obviously Son was the obvious captain because Liverpool have won 1-0 after Wijnaldum goal, massive assist or something. But on balance probabilities, you'd be expecting Huddersfield to get mauled there at Anfield. And over the last 6 game weeks, Huddersfield have done all right, actually, defensively. They're no longer the worst team defensively. That is West Ham. West Ham conceded the most shots on target and the most big chances. So maybe there is a case for Son there. But yeah, they are not doing particularly well. They're joint second for shots on target, conceded third for a big chance to concede. So yeah, it's not particularly good. And you are probably going to be looking at that -4. If you're thinking of taking a -4, you'd probably be expecting that to be paid back, to be honest. Mane is very, very consistent at home, and Salah continues to stat very, very well. And I can't really see past captaining one of those. I mean, I was speaking to FPL Connect earlier on, and maybe thinking, you could do Son, you could do Aguero against Burnley or something like that. But it just feels like it's got to be a Liverpool player this week, which obviously creates a bit of an opportunity for some people if they do want to kind of go, all right, well, I'm going to captain somebody who is a bit off the beaten track in the hope of making gains.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right, and those Liverpool, they're looking like the way to go for captaincy as well. I think there is a case for Son. Obviously, he's banned for the first leg in Ajax, so you'd expect him to get the 90 minutes. And as you just said, West Ham are even a worse defence for Huddersfield. So if you're looking at hopefully a 90-minute Son versus potentially a 60, 65, 70-minute Mane or Salah, then I can see the case for Son. I think even though, taking all that into account, it's Liverpool against Huddersfield. I think you can overthink these things and make them too complicated. And I think for the captaincy and even the triple captaincy, it's looking like Liverpool is the way to go. And if you're going to be taking a hit, then Liverpool all the way.
Yeah, you definitely expect that to be paid back, wouldn't you? I mean, do you still have a triple captain?
No, I don't. I've played it for the Aguero double game week. Actually, I got pretty fortunate with his hat trick. So yeah, cool. I was happy to get that one out of the way because I've seen quite a few people struggling to know when to use it now.
Yeah, with Mane, I was speaking to Matt Halliday, I think it was earlier on Twitter, and he'd used it on Jimenez this week. I mean, so unlucky.
I can see the logic, to be honest. You know, that's those 2 home games for Jimenez, he's been banging form. So
don't. Yeah. I captained him this week. I forgot to mention earlier. I didn't want to mention it earlier, but I captained him this week, and just 50%. I think it is a goal involvement. 50% at home, and the guy just didn't do anything. There's a big chance, 2 big chances missed, I think, towards the end of the game against Arsenal today. And as a gooner, it's a bit weird actually, because obviously I'm hoping we win, but then you look at you kind of with the FPL hat on, you're thinking, well, 1 goal's gone in. Who is it? Not Jimenez. Second, no Jimenez. Third, no Jimenez. Really? It was quite a frustrating evening for me. But there you go. I mean, I guess you mentioned triple captain a minute ago. The next question is actually about triple captain, which is quite an interesting one. Adera, who messaged us, hats off, absolutely amazing score. I think he was on about 140 when I checked in earlier on this evening. Asked when his triple captainship should be wielded, because quite a few people do currently have it. And as you mentioned a minute ago, that triple captain, Huddersfield 36 Liverpool, is the place where a lot of people are looking at it. But I mean, there are a few other options out there. You've got Man City with a decent game in 38. We've got quite a few teams actually that you could potentially play it on. So I mean, what kinds of area? What would you be advising people to do? Do it this Friday, or do something, I don't know, like as I said, Brighton, Man City on game week 38. Man United play Cardiff, and we could do Pogba as a last sort of thing. Chelsea versus Watford, a Hazard salutary performance. There are quite a few options out there, but I guess the balance probabilities is probably to put it on Salah or Mane this game week, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at the fixtures now, and I can't see any other really big standout ones. I mean, you could say City on the last day against Brighton, but if Brighton still need a point that day, or if City have already won or lost the league, then that's going to be a really difficult one to kind of call, really. So unbalanced probabilities. I think, as I said before, I think you can overthink these things. And Liverpool, scored one of the most goals this season. They've got so many good FPL assets, and they're playing Huddersfield, who probably don't even deserve to be in a championship. Let's be honest. So I'm gonna get some hate mail now. Said that
people of Huddersfield mass unsubscribing to fans.
So yeah, Liverpool triple captaincy makes the most sense to me if you still got it, I think.
Yeah, I think, again, without being a big cop-out, it feels like it does depend a little bit, because if you are really looking to push up, your friend your friend who joined the group earlier on, who's 7th in the world, maybe he might be looking to captain a Son character or something like that and make his way up if that works out. Obviously, there's a huge risk-reward kind of scale there, and maybe it is worth it just kind of thinking, I captained Aguero for that Fulham Cardiff double game week, because at the end of the day, I wanted the happiness of getting the triple captain right. So psychologically, I think it makes sense, doesn't it? You're having that kind of safety, mitigating, anticipated regret to go with an easier kind of look. There are fixtures out there that may cause you to have a look again.
Yeah, usually I'm not one to sort of go searching for differentials. I think it can get you further behind, even though I'm a sort of a big advocate. I'll just get the players that you think are going to score the most points, and it sounds stupid. But when it comes to this stage of the season, you are, I don't know, 20 points behind your mini league leader or whatever it is, then it is worth having a look at their team and seeing what players you can get that are different. And if you still got triple captainship and your rival has Mane and Salah and they're 30 points in front of you, then why not play it on Sun this weekend? You could hit lucky and you could be in front of him after a hat-trick and Liverpool guys, Henderson scoring in a 1-0 Liverpool win, and you just can't predict it, can you? So yeah, if you need a differential, then and Son is a differential, then I think he's probably the next best shout. Or yeah, well, if you need differentials, then you just got to compare your team to your opponents. Really, there isn't too many other ways around it. But yeah, in terms of who I think is going to get the most points, then it would be going back to Liverpool guys.
Yeah, no, certainly. It's just one of those. Isn't it? Do you think there's any risk, like in terms of Liverpool guys this game week? And we've just been asked by Pikachu in the chat about this. So do you think there's any rotation risk this game week? I mean, they've got Friday Huddersfield, and it's Wednesday, isn't it? They're playing the Champions League, so I'm guessing that mitigates it completely. Like you can't
think so.
worry.
You would think so. I mean, they do still need to win this game. Obviously, City won tonight. It's massive for Liverpool fans to get Premier League. I can't see that there being wholesale changes. I guess possibly, the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Gomez potentially coming in at right back. I was speaking to a Liverpool friend the other day, and he thinks that Gomez is just a better right back than Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't really agree with him, to be honest, but if they wanted a fresh Trent for the Barcelona match, then I don't think Gomez is a bad replacement, and he can probably do the job against Huddersfield. So possibly in certain positions there might be some rotation, but I think for the main guys, I would be surprised.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Gomez is an interesting one this week. I don't think because Matip was rested for Porto the first leg. Yeah. So maybe you'd be thinking, okay, well, he might be all right this week. So that might mean that Trent might be having might have a rest. But you got to wonder, though, how old's Trent? 19, 20? I mean, does he really need a rest? Like when I was 19, 20, I was going out drinking the whole time. I didn't need a rest. I got the next day. And these guys are playing football. So you got to wonder really whether we are just kind of lurching into overthinking territory to some extent. I mean, if it was a Saturday fixture and a Tuesday fixture, then you may be a little bit more worried, perhaps. I mean, obviously, we don't know unless Klopp, his pictures outside of Melwood with a transparent folder with team for Huddersfield on top of it. I think we can never know what team he's going to field, but I don't know. You're at the stage of the season now where you're kind of. You can easily just get into that rotation rabbit hole, which you can do in many times of the season. I think just now, they've got to win, as we've seen tonight, and that would probably be the advice that you go with there. You mentioned just a second ago, Will, actually, about making punts at this time of year, or at least eyeing up and looking at differentials. And it might be worth just kind of just speaking about those a little bit at the moment, because there are a few out there, and then probably there are a few players that people are looking to shift. So Kolasinac perhaps could be a player that you may want to get rid of. If you've got Andre Gray or something like that. Are there any players that have caught your eye or are catching your eye as potential kind of late season rushes as we head towards that kind of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to say is that personally, I'm looking at City and Liverpool players because I think if you haven't got the treble up on both of them, then that's where you should be going. But punts are those differentials are really important as well. I think the obvious one is Deulofeu. If you haven't got him, he looks bang in form of his life. Watford still got a bit to play for in the league, and everyone's going to be fighting for that FA Cup final spot. So I think that he's a great shout. Sigurdsson, as Nick pick earlier, he's going to be probably coming into my Sky team. I think he's a good shout. And if you really want to go back to earlier in the season, maybe Richarlison. I noticed, don't hate on me, but I noticed that his numbers are beginning to show up as pretty positive again. I know that he has a tendency to have good numbers and not score, but he is beginning to pick up some FPL returns recently as well, and he does offer good value when he's in form. And Everton don't have bad fixtures for the end of the season. And again, if you're looking at Everton, then and you're looking for possibly a Gray replacement or Ings, or I think Gray could be a decent shout, but until Deeney comes back. But you've got Calvert-Lewin. He's been playing really well up top for Everton, and he could be a good shout. Also, Digne as well, an old favourite in defence. He's been producing the numbers. So possibly Everton is where I'd look for my punts. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. Everton, they close out the season okay. Crystal Palace,
Yeah,
Burnley, and Tottenham. There are a couple of teams that I am very, very interested in for various reasons. Crystal Palace have Everton, Cardiff, and Bournemouth. The last three, those Everton and Bournemouth are at home. Wilf Zaha is one that may be kind of showing up on a few people's radars towards the end of the season. I mean, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, perhaps. I think it's quite interesting. But motivation, I think, is now where we're at, and the form book may be something that we throw out the window because there are loads of teams who are safe, loads of teams who know they're relegated. It's kind of just Cardiff and Brighton who have something to play for. And if either of them had really good fixtures, you may be considering them. That said, Cardiff do have Fulham and Crystal Palace next too, so there could be something there. But Crystal Palace with those nice fixtures and Zaha potentially putting himself in the shop window. I mean, I don't know how these things work, but at least it got out into the public sphere that he was looking at a Champions League move. And with Benteke playing there, drawing the defenders, you'd be hoping that it makes for a better Zaha with Benteke on the field. I mean, I think that against Arsenal, I would never advocate buying Benteke. That's the Mustafi effect. Anyone playing Mustafi, buy Vardy this week, guys. But I think Zaha could be quite a canny transfer. You could get an assist from him being fouled. But the one that I'm really liking this week is Mitrovic, actually. So people, you said, don't hunt me down with a pitchfork. But Mitrovic has been absolutely dominating the striker data.
He's been doing that most of the season, though.
I know he has. But you wonder whether he's putting himself in the shop window. You wonder whether he's doing X, Y, or Z. Obviously, he's broken the record, guys, for the most headed attempts of any striker ever since Opta started recording 52 headed attempts this season. Over the last 6, he's had an astonishing 23 attempts, 17 in the box. He's had the most shots on target as well. And Fulham have got an okay final three. The dead cat bounce, as I like to call it, seems to be in full effect. Cardiff up next will have to go for it. Wolves away in 37. We know that Wolves are rubbish against teams who are below them. And finally, Newcastle in game week 38, his old team. Those 3 games are absolutely brilliant, aren't they, for taking a punt on the Serb. I'm not saying captain this guy. I'm not saying buy him in and make him the linchpin of your team, but I am saying if you are, but I'm saying if you are looking to make a tiny bit of a little bit of a difference, a little bit of in the mini league, having if you're both captaining Mane, you and your rival, both captaining Salah, you and your rival, and you want to have those kind of carried players doing an okay job, Mitrovic could really do that for you. But yeah, he has, as you just said, a big caveat of this is that he has been doing well stats-wise all season. If you watch them play, all he does is tries to head it in. But I don't know. We see that he's not going to go down to the Championship, is he? He's going to be in the Premier League next year, or he's going to be in top flight next year somewhere else. I think he's going to be looking for that move, and it does seem high time for that sort of player to be looking for it. And I guess I mentioned a minute ago, I'm interested to get your thoughts as well. Whether do we really think that form is worth looking at now, or is it just all about how we perceive the motivation of players when we're sizing up the transfer we're going to make?
Yeah, it's difficult, really, because that's why I kind of opened my caveats to the punts with City and Liverpool, because City, Liverpool, and obviously the top 6 all have something to play for. So I think that those are the teams that I would target to try and get in. Other Brighton and Cardiff, they're the only ones that are really fighting for much. I know that you could argue, the likes of Wolves and Watford are fighting for that 7th place, but it's tricky going into the last few game weeks. Form does tend to go out the window, and you see some really, really strange things happening with people fighting for their own personal glory of trying to get a transfer to somewhere else, and picking out the likes of Mitrovic, who are probably going to be doing exactly that. And Zaha, I think, is probably a good shout. Even I've got Wilson, and I'm fairly happy to hang on to him. He might be gunning for a move to the likes of Chelsea. With Higuain probably not staying on. So Yeah, it's always quite difficult to kind of judge motivation. I mean, you could argue that, Wilson is going to be on the beach. You could argue that Zaha and Mitrovic are going to be on the beach. You just don't really know without. We can make educated guesses, but it's always difficult to know for certain, isn't it? And even if they are highly motivated, their teams might not be. So they might not get any chances anyway.
Yeah, that does apply over the course of the season. I think, Will, that we can never know what's going to happen. We can only guess.
Well, yeah, that's true with FPL, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'm completely with you though on the City and Liverpool. I mean, obviously, it's a slightly glib suggesting Mitrovic, although I might do it myself. I would not want to take responsibility for anybody else doing Mitrovic. But I think with those two teams, I mean, Kevin De Bruyne replacing him is probably going to be high on people's people's agendas. I mean, unfortunately, our friend FPL General captained him. I mean, I've had a bad season, and that guy as well has had some spectacularly bad luck stories this season.
Just keep getting worse and worse.
I know. FPL Viper as well, similar story. So maybe you would be looking. I don't know. I'd be on tonight's performance alone, and he has been doing it over the course of the season. To be fair, you'd probably be looking at Bernardo Silva, wouldn't you, and thinking, yeah, that's an obvious swap over to get another City player in.
Yeah, just going by the eye test, watching the City United match, he seems to be popping up in the right positions and obviously getting the goal. So I think that Bernardo Silva looks like a great shout, and he seems to have really nailed down those minutes. And Pep's going to be playing his strongest team for the run-in, and he's definitely probably first on the team sheet after Ederson. So yeah, Bernardo Silva looks like a great shout as well.
Absolutely. And did I spot a sly elbow by David Silva in that game? Could that be retrospective action? If so, there could be a place for mid-season hero Leroy Sané, down to 9.3 now, but still figuring okay in terms of the midfielders. I mean, he's not absolutely tearing it up. Don't get me wrong, but he's kind of statting all right. And as you mentioned, he is going to be playing the strongest team, Pep. So, if Bernardo Silva has to come into the middle to account for Kevin De Bruyne's absence, then there's a spot suddenly free for Leroy Sané. That could be quite a decent little differential, couldn't it? A 9.3 towards the end of the season. Like, we know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. It's just whether he's on Pep's naughty step or not. If David Silva is out and Kevin De Bruyne is out, suddenly I think there's a little bit of room for a player like Sané to be playing basically the final 3 games of the season, which are pretty damn good for Man City. Let's be fair. I mean, any game is good for Man City, but they've got Burnley, Leicester, and Brighton the last 3. Like, you got to be thinking that's win-win-win, and you got to be thinking, right, I need to have at least 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 fingers in that pie to make sure I've got some points coming in there. And a lot of people will have pivoted towards Spurs perhaps for the double game week, so it might be worth kind of looking there and looking to differential kind of power there. And if you're looking to sell KDB, I think it's probably going to shunt him sideways to another City player.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. The more fingers in the City pie, the better, I think. They're, as I said, Liverpool and them are the prime targets. And if you haven't got 3 City players already, I've got Ederson. I've got Laporte, Sterling, and Aguero. So I can't squeeze any more City players in. But if you have space for one of them, then it looks like a very wise investment. And Bernardo Silva and Sané could both come in very well. It's difficult to choose between them. I guess it slightly depends. If you got the budget, then probably Sané is a slightly better pick. You'd think, but obviously Silva offering the better value.
Absolutely. I mean, Bernardo Silva is one of those players that I loved in the early season as well. And they're both below 10% owned. So any serious haul, and we know that Sané is capable of it. Bernardo Silva, not so much. He's now started to add some end product to his game, but he was doing kind of the hazard role when we hate him, of looking fantastic on the pitch without actually producing anything. But now he started doing that. And now you may be thinking he or either one, as we said, is probably looking quite good. So we've taken a long walk away from the questions, but I think probably worth talking about, just because I think there'll be a lot of people who are wondering, oh, what do I do now? The next question is United, which is very funny because TED Talks FPL asked if United are worth it for game weeks 37 and 38, Huddersfield and Cardiff. Let's not bash United too much. I'm guessing neither of us are United fans, but we don't want to get the pitchforks rattled in our direction. Don't alienate Manchester on top of Huddersfield. Well, for those two fixtures, do you think it's worth really going for United, because those fixtures are fantastic? That's not good. There's no way around that. I'm guessing a lot of people did divest of, I kept Pogba, for example, but I know I was in the minority there. Maybe you have a few people kind of Rashford hanging around, but most people did divest. Do you think it's time at the end of the season to jump on those guys?
Oh, well, look, I'm a fixtures guy. I play the fixtures religiously, but, even so, I'm not even considering them for my own team personally. Just something's gone wrong there again, hasn't it? Pogba looks disinterested. Lukaku on the bench. I guess even if you were considering United, and I think ordinarily you should do with those two fixtures, it's just who do you go for? As I said, Pogba looks disinterested. Lukaku's on the bench tonight, so he's not really an option. I guess Rashford, he's probably the one, but if Lukaku comes back in the team, then he's less effective. So and even Rashford seems to have lost a bit of his mojo. So it's for me, potentially, I can't see any good picks in defense either. So potentially there could be one of them is going to hit the fire, come to light against Huddersfield and Cardiff, but it's difficult to know which one. And there doesn't really seem to be any good FPL assets. You could argue Pogba's probably the best shout because he's on penalties, but he's playing a lot deeper, and it just seems like he's looking forward to his summer break and moving to Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Hazard probably both on the same plane together, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to just be looking at that United team, haven't you, and just thinking, right, who is likely to be playing those games? If you are a fixtures guy like yourself, and thinking, well, all right, the team themselves are probably abject. I mean, if anyone saw that Everton game, you'd be looking at that team and thinking, sell, sell, sell. But Huddersfield and Cardiff are great. And if Cardiff are down, it's going to be an interesting one to see whether they're going to really play up in the last game of the season. But if they are still up, or if it goes down to game week 38, then you probably want to avoid. But maybe you kind of want to gamble that. It's fairly stark in terms of how much United have fallen off. In the last 6 game weeks, they've only created 52 chances. In their heyday, after OGS came in, I was looking at game weeks 20 to 25, when they were really kind of killing everyone around them. And they created 73 chances, which is just 6 less than City. And you had Pogba topping all of the metrics. You had Pogba topping shots on target from midfielders, topping, touch in the box, topping chances created. So, you can see that he, as you said, his motivation, as we mentioned earlier, is probably gone. But there's always that chance, isn't there? And I got very lucky in game week 34 with the 2 penalties, and that could happen. Pogba does still have the ability, even if he doesn't have the motivation to pull something out of nowhere. Against Watford a little while ago. Was it against Watford? Yeah, it was against Watford, wasn't it? When they didn't do too well. Yeah. Against Watford in game week 32, he could easily have pulled out a couple of assists. And again, against that sort of level of team, he's going to be too good for them.
You'd think so,
bluntly. So
yeah, I mean, I was at that Old Trafford match actually, when they played West Ham, my first time at Old Trafford, and he wasn't really involved in the game, to be honest. He got those 2 penalties. That you've always got that chance when he's on penalties, but West Ham are one of the worst defenses.
The worst defense.
You just said they're worse than Huddersfield, and obviously he got the 2 penalties, but he realistically, he was never going to get anything other than penalties in that game. So, if you want a penalty taker from a half decent team, then I would look at Milivojevic.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think it's just because of the fixtures. I think that I can see why people would be interested. Zero stats to back it up. You probably maybe some people are looking at Luke Shaw or whatever and saying, "Oh yeah, that could be all right," but I just feel like you can't endorse it based on the stats. You've got to do it. Maybe because we're in the sort of hinterland of players playing for themselves, and maybe Pogba will want to end the season well. Who knows? Who knows if he cares about the club at all? But he's level with the likes of Loftus-Cheek, for example, in terms of attempts over the last 6 game weeks. It's not particularly encouraging, is it? So. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm going to hold Pogba because I own him. But if you're going to,
I think if you own him, then it's got to be worth holding for sure.
Exactly. But if you don't, then just get rid. Another question: a pain in the Arsenal. Steve Kelly asks, why did I buy Arsenal defensive assets? And Afwanda says that he's got Leno and he wants to sell him because of how bad Arsenal are. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? So I'm an Arsenal fan. I tend to keep it quite quiet because I don't want it to prejudice my FPL. But I follow them and feel it acutely, even if I don't throw my toys out of the pram whenever we lose, because I'm an Arsenal fan, a long-term Arsenal fan, and I've become desensitized, frankly, to what we can do and how badly we can do things. That Crystal Palace game, I think that knocked. We had a very, very impressive home record, didn't we? I think it was like 10 home clean sheets in a row, not by the Crystal Palace game. I can see why people did get double Arsenal. I got double Arsenal because I had that home game in mind and thinking, well, we have been quite solid at home. It's probably worth at least taking the chance on. So I mean, we've had. I don't know how many clean sheets. I think 7 clean sheets at home, which isn't too bad. There's just 1 below City, for example. So there's an appreciable chance of something happening. But I've got Kola and I've got Leno. I think I'll be definitely getting rid of Kola this week for a Liverpool defender, for example, the meanest defence in the Premier League. And I think that if you are sitting with 2 of them and you've got to play them, then I'd be thinking of maybe making a move to get rid of those guys, because I mean, I think Emery this year deserves a lot of plaudits, actually, because if you look at the Arsenal team, like literally just Google Wikipedia Arsenal team 2018, 2019, that team is awful. He's been left with an absolutely terrible team. And the fact is that we're in the running for the Europa League and we're in the running for the top 4. With that team, he has worked miracles, frankly. I think he should get a bit more recognition than he actually is getting at the moment. A lot of it has been down to Lacazette and Aubameyang scoring. A lot of it has, like, watching us play, we have not looked fluent, I don't think, at any point in this season. But the fact that we've managed to blunder our way into the top 4 is something amazing. And the fact that we're doing it with a Guendouzi, El Neni midfield access, again, is pretty amazing. But I would probably be selling your Arsenal defence at the moment or something like that. And maybe even Lacazette and Aubameyang. I mean, I know a few people did take punts there. Well, like, what would you think about Arsenal? The final 3 are they're right. I mean, Leicester, Brighton and Burnley. But that Europa League's got to be hanging over them, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any Arsenal, but and I kind of avoided Lacazette, Aubameyang the whole season just because it's so difficult to know, which one of those is going to start. And I always prefer, one striker up top who's sort of the main talisman, as you've been doing some great work on talismans. But having said that, if I did have Arsenal assets, and I think you're right that their eyes might be slightly on Europa League, but if you've got a decent bench, then I'd probably hold them for those last 3 fixtures, to be honest. Leicester away, Brighton at home, and Burnley away. I think those are pretty decent fixtures. So if I had Arsenal assets and I didn't have any other pressing concerns, then I'd probably look at shifting them. But if you have other fires to burn out, then and other concerns, then I'd probably hang on to your Arsenal assets. They're decent fixtures. They're still Arsenal, and they're still going for that top 4 spot. So they've still got it's a bit of a long shot now, but they have got quite a a decent amount to play for still. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be looking to jump ship straight away. Again, it's not pass points you care about, so it's not really the double game week to worry about. It's future point potential, and I think there's still some points available in those R3 fixtures. So yeah, I'm less pessimistic about Arsenal, and yeah, if I did own them, I'd probably be looking to hold on to them unless I had no other pressing issues. And if you like, I like your Trent Alexander-Arnold move for Kolasinac, for example. So yeah, it's one of those where it's probably a luxury move for me.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I've got Lacazette, for example, in Sky. He's staying. I think I'm going to keep Leno. So Leno and Ryan for the rest of the season. I'm not going to mess around with the goalkeepers now. And to Afwanda's question, I'd probably keep Leno now. Just focus your transfers elsewhere. That's somewhere that you can just get 2 points, whatever, every week. You're probably going to have greater potential payoff from your transfers elsewhere in your team. If you got Lacazette or something, maybe you'd be thinking about moving him on to, I don't know if you can reach Guerrero or something like that. Probably not. But that was going to be the guy. I think that's the guy. That's where you've got to go. I mean, Firmino's not been doing too badly, to be honest. I've been looking a lot actually at the. So I've got Jamie Vardy at the moment. And I held him for this game week, thinking, well, he can be the single game week kind of guy alongside the double Liverpool that I've got. And I was thinking, I'm now going to move him on to Firmino. But after seeing the Arsenal team over the last double game week,
give it one more week.
Exactly, selling Vardy seems like absolute travesty. No, would I really want to do that? No, but Firmino, I think, is going to be quite an interesting one. He's third for shots over the last 6 game weeks, fourth for shots in the box, and he's had quite a few. He's had a few big chances as well. You've got to be wondering whether Huddersfield are going to be able to contain Liverpool, and it's kind of just. It's not saying he's the best Liverpool asset to get. I'm not sure I'd want to captain him unless I'm going for a little bit of a differential within a high potential scoring week. But I think he'd be a great one to carry and potentially a great one to get a little bit of differentiation out of, because ultimately you've got Mane on 33.5% ownership. You've got Salah on 34.5% ownership. And then you've got Firmino down on 17.1%. So that, if you haven't got double Liverpool defence and you're looking to do something sword-like, it might be better to go that way if you've got a vacant spot. If you've got Lacazette that you're maybe not too sure about, because we've got Valencia. I think it's Valencia, isn't it, coming up in the Europa League? You may be thinking, well, I'm going to get rid of Lacazette. I think Firmino is the obvious choice. I wouldn't really be second guessing that too much.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think Firmino is probably the way to go if you haven't got treble up in Liverpool. And yeah, Aguero, if you can stretch to it. Can't really see too many other options around that price point. Maybe the likes of Jimenez, if you haven't got him. I think probably most will have him though. So, but yeah, I agree. Lacazette and Aubameyang, they're both going to get managed minutes because of the Europa League, so possibly look at shifting one of those. Okay,
cool. Just got one more question from the chat before we move on towards the end of this, and we'll maybe stick around for a little bit longer after that. But JCCR has just asked relegation asset teams. We spoke about a minute ago about motivation. He's asked Southampton, Brighton, and Cardiff. I mentioned a minute ago that Cardiff have an okay end of the season, for example. How much do we kind of think that they might be worth investing in? Like, last year, for example, we were investing in the teams that were on the cusp and we were on the search, weren't we, for motivation? Is that still a thing this year? I mean, it does look like it's fairly cut and dry for Southampton to say, for example. But Brighton and Cardiff, there's not very much between them, is there? And if Brighton had kept that clean sheet yesterday, that was something to be a lot more interesting. But it's only 3 points between them.
Yeah, I think that Cardiff are, I had Camarasa on my team for the last double game week, and I think that him being on penalties, and got Fulham and Crystal Palace up next. then he potentially could be a decent shout. Brighton, I'm going to be hanging on to Duffy and Ryan. I don't know whether they're going to be playing much, but I'm quite happy to have them in my side, and potentially I might play Duffy this week against Newcastle. But I wouldn't be going anywhere near them after that with Arsenal away and Man City at home.
No.
Southampton are probably a good team to invest, even though they're probably safe. Bournemouth, West Ham, and Huddersfield, great run of fixtures, and they've got value all over the pitch. So I think those are good shouts as well. What about you?
I mean, I've got Duffman and Ryan, who sound like a attorney at law, don't they, or something like that. I'm going to play one of them this week. I'm probably going to play Ryan, and whatever happens, Duffy will kind of sit on the bench for the rest of the season, I think now. With Southampton, I think I should have mentioned them earlier, actually. So I mentioned Crystal Palace, I mentioned Fulham. Southampton, Ingsy, you've got Shane Long, the scorer of the quickest goal ever in Premier League history, who potentially could do something. James Ward-Prowse, Redmond, and you've got Valerie and Bednarak or whatever at the back. I don't know why you'd be buying these guys in now. I'm guessing a wildcard 34, you probably would have set a team up, which is okay. Unless you had a punt on Gray or something, you want to get rid of that. Then maybe there may be a space for Danny Ings or something like that. It is very much about reading into the motivations, I suppose. And if you are going to be fixture led towards the end of the season, I mean, Hasenhuttl was done a very good job there. There's a very good piece on I think it was goal.com today on how he's completely transformed their mentality from we're going to lose to we should win. And the Bournemouth, West Ham, Huddersfield does offer a very good time for a lot of players to be staking their claim, because it is still the team of the last manager to some extent, isn't it? It was still Mark Hughes, wasn't it, at the start of this season? Am I wrong? It was him, wasn't it? He was still in charge. No, incredibly, that feels like ancient history. But you still had him playing desultory football there at Southampton. So maybe there are a few players who are playing for their futures, as we spoke about earlier on, and maybe you'd be looking at Danny Ings type or something like that to come in for those sorts of fixtures. Anyone against Bournemouth is probably a good bet. And James Ward-Prowse, for example, on the dead balls. If they do kind of get a dangerous free kick, or indeed because you're expecting Jan Valerie to be back at right back, if you think he's going to be pushed up the field a little bit, he could definitely do something. He's definitely got a double figure return within him. I think this week, for example, I'm considering playing him over Andre Gray if I keep hold of him with that Cola move.
Yeah, I've actually got Redmond and James Ward-Prowse in my team, so I've gone for the double up of cheap Southampton mids. It's really not paid off this game week, but I did bring them in because I had these last three fixtures in mind as well. As you just said, West Ham and Huddersfield, those are the two worst fixtures, best fixtures that you can get from an attacking point of view, and probably Bournemouth as well, actually. So those are three really plum fixtures from an attacking point of view. So I probably will be playing Redmond and Ward-Prowse. I haven't got room for both of them, unfortunately. So I've got to decide which one to plump for there. And I know I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah. It's one of those, isn't it? We always end up with these, right? Of course, you've got your 50-50. And whatever you choose, like you can look at the stats, you can look at the data, you can look at the eye tests, and you're like, okay, well, Redmond is fantastic. I mean, he's the only guy who can carry the ball in the Southampton team. All right, I'll play him. And there's going to be a James Ward-Prowse kind of penalty or something when Ings goes off and Long goes off. But I think that there is potentially something there with Southampton if you are looking to get a cheap player in to facilitate, I don't know, a City buy or something like that. Okay, cool. So transfers and captains this week then. What are you thinking then, Will, in terms of both? I'm guessing the captains will be Liverpool, but transfers, you making any?
So I had Eriksen to Mane penned in for this week, and I can't see any reason not to make that move. So that's going to be my transfer, and I'm going to be handing the armband to Mane as well. So fairly straightforward one for me. Eriksen to Mane and the captaincy over. I've got to say I'm a little bit worried about Eriksen, having West Ham at home, and he probably could hurt me, that move. But at the same time, I've got a feeling that his minutes could potentially be managed in preparation for the Ajax match. So yeah, on balance, I kind of need an attacking Liverpool player for captaincy. So yeah, it does make logical sense, even though it's a move which could potentially hurt me.
Absolutely, but I mean, as we spoke about earlier, that you can't second guess that too much. I mean, I've got Eriksen and I've got Mane as well, so I'll be keeping Eriksen. And the hope that I'm still grasping onto is that no one else can fulfil that role for Spurs. I mean, his chance creation, he's created more chances than any other midfielder over the last 6. Very frustrating player to watch if you own him and you are paying extra special attention. He does fluff a lot. He can take a lot of long shots, which go absolutely nowhere, which get recorded as him taking a shot. So you've got to be careful, as always, with the data there. But he is the lockpick kind of character who actually has some stamina, unlike Mesut Ozil, who plays for his North London rivals. So I'll probably be keeping hold of him. I was thinking about moving him over to Son, because Son is definitely going to play unless he's injured, because of he's suspended the first game of Ajax. And I still think there's kind of a stealth pick for captaincy for Son. But I'm kind of caught. I've eliminated the Vardy to Firmino move, I think. But it might be different in a couple of days' time. But for now, I think I've eliminated that move, because I don't think I can sell Vardy ahead of Arsenal. So that probably pushes me towards 2 moves. One is Kohler to TAA. I can afford that straight out, no hit, easy, and have a back 3 of Kohler, Robertson, and Laporte. Probably the one you go for. The other move, though, Will, which I quite like, is I can see you smiling. Is removing Andre Gray for Alexander Mitrovic, and then removing Kohler for either Matip or Gomez. This could be very exciting.
Do you think this might be where your season's gone wrong?
It might be. No, I think I only took one big pump, which was selling Salah to buy in Sterling and Sane and have Kane and Alba. So having those 4, and none of them backed up Salah. Anyway, whatever. So I haven't done that many silly pumps throughout the course of the season. So there's definitely an argument for just screw it, just go for it in this course of the season. But I mean, I think maybe there's always that kind of feeling, isn't there? That, I'm overthinking it. I'm going to just do Kohler for TAA. And there's always that feeling as well that you could be sitting there on Friday night just being like, oh, God, why did I do Kohler for TAA? I've got Duffy off the bench. I've used the transfer. That probably feels like the way I'll go, though. I just can't. I don't know. I think logically you've got to be thinking that Liverpool aren't going to be resting their first team. I think Gomez is going to come in. And I think Lee from FPL Family also said that he'd heard that Klopp sees Gomez as being a right back in the future, rather than being the kind of the partner for Van Dijk.
Can you stretch to Van Dijk?
I can, but then I've got to remove somebody for somebody else. So I'd have to remove Gray for rubbish, or remove, I don't know, someone else for rubbish, basically, which I'm less inclined to do. So it's basically TAA or doing some sort of weird punt. I don't know. I like a weird punt this time of the season, because I said the form that's out the window. You could do all right. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, not too far off where I was last season. If I can beat that and get an okay end of the season, who knows? But yeah, I mean, Kohler's great. Kohler TAA sounds like the thing that a clever person would do. And I'm kind of, if I do that, I'm down to either benching Gray or benching JWP. I think I'll play JWP over Gray, because it is Bournemouth at the end of the day. Any team that is hopeful of attacking return against those guys. Cool. Just say at the end then who we are. Well, who I am, at least. I'm part of Who Got the Assist. You can find us on Twitter at WGTQ+FPL, and our league code is a bit late now, but if you want to join, it's 516-441. I've been joined today on this stream / mini pod, if you're listening, by Will from Fantasy Football Hub. You can find him at FFootball Hub on Twitter.
That's the one. Yeah, I'm also on YouTube for anybody watching this. Just have a quick search for Fantasy Football Hub, and do a weekly short video on there as well. So for anyone who hasn't seen that, go check it out if you like listen to YouTube videos on fantasy football. But cool. Thanks for having me, Tom. It's great to be on.
No worries, and we'll obviously try to ramp up the collabs next season because we all love a bit of collabs, don't we?
I love the collabs.
Cool. It's a little bit late, so I think we're probably going to end it there. But we'll be back next week for game week 36 wash ups. No doubt there'll be more trials, tribulations, and upsets. But that's it. In the meantime, hope to assist you, and we'll speak to you very, very soon. Thanks for watching, everybody on YouTube, and thanks for listening if you listen to this on a audio file. Take care.